welcome to my luxury garden. My name's Elise and I'm totally obsessed with my garden. In the video today I'm going to be showing you how I harvest corn. I've been growing corn on the cob this season. This is the type I've been growing, peaches and cream corn. This is West Coast Seeds, a fantastic mid-season variety, and they've grown extremely tall and well in this semi-arid, hot environment that I live in. However, I have made some mistakes. Corn is actually a variety of grass, and they really like a lot of nitrogen in the soil. And unfortunately, I did not feed them, and I did not put enough compost into the soil, and I just kind of left them. I was running short on time this year. Oh, we have some wind. So because of these mistakes I made, the corn stalks are yellowing at the base, and when you harvest corn that is lacking nitrogen, because grasses love nitrogen, they're a little bit smaller and not as sweet. So I made a mistake there. So the nice thing about this corn, the kernels can be planted directly into the soil once the soil is warm enough. Corn does not like cold. So once it was warm enough at the beginning of May, I directly planted these into the soil. The kernels literally look like corn kernels. I'll show you here. So they literally are corn kernels. You put them directly into the soil, and then you keep them well watered for a couple of weeks, and they'll start to sprout up pretty quickly. And I really like this. I like planting seeds that can go directly into the soil. I'm not a huge fan of starting things inside. At least I haven't really dabbled with that yet. I just haven't had time or the space. Now that I have more space in the house here, that might be something I try in this winter. But as of right now, I usually only plant things directly into the soil once the soil is warm enough. So corn is perfect for that. Something to note for people that do not have a large garden area, corn can be planted in containers. So you do 4 seeds into 1 container, and you can grow them on your balcony, but you have to make sure they have full sun. And it is best to do them in a square shape because the wind pollinates them, so being in the square shape is helpful for that rather than a row. This is the compost that I add into my veggie beds in the springtime. This is sea soil organic compost that I get from my local garden store. I have more space here. I'm starting to create my own compost, so I'm hoping that I won't have to keep purchasing compost in spring every year because it is quite expensive. It's about $10 per bag. So hopefully that's something I can just create myself now that I have a compost bin and space and time to work on these things. If you don't have a compost bin though, you can buy this compost from a local garden center. You just add it into your soil in spring and then plant the seeds. I did some succession planting, and I have a second batch of corn that's growing that looks much healthier. It's in a spot that has more space, and so the corn is getting the nitrogen that it needs. So that corn should be much better. So come along with me as I harvest this corn and see what it's looking like. I'm going to show you the comparison where I made some mistakes versus the corn that's looking healthier and is going to taste much sweeter. Here we go. Okay, so when I come up close here, you can see at the base of these stalks, all this amazing corn is looking very sad down at the bottom here. It's very yellow, it's lacking nitrogen because corn is a type of grass and it likes a lot of nitrogen in the soil. I planted a lot of other stuff in here. I have kale, corn, squash, beets all growing in here. So these plants are all sucking nutrition out of this soil, and these have not gotten enough nitrogen, which is my own mistake. So I'm just going to show you the comparison here between the corn that has what it needs versus this corn that is clearly sad. So if you look at these here, this is quite small. So it's about the length of my 4 fingers here. I'm going to harvest this. And there you go, that is looking quite small. This has been in the ground since May. It's been hot and sunny, so the environment has been perfect for it. But this is incredibly small. And when I open this up, it's not going to look too happy in there. It's not going to be something you want to eat. Now here is a second batch of corn that I planted about a month later. And as you can see, this is looking so much better. There's healthy green leaves down here. The whole stalk is bright green and they look very healthy and happy. And you can see very large cobs of corn on here. Like, this is bigger than my full hand size. So these were planted in a bed that had a lot more space, and I had to put compost in here. So they just did a lot better in this location versus the other spot I just showed you. Here is another one here that is looking quite big. So let me harvest one from this stalk here, and I'm going to show you the difference between the two. Okay, so this one's really big. Let's pull this one off. Okay, there we go. This is ginormous. So here's my hand compared to the corn, and that is just massive compared to that small piddly one that was lacking the nitrogen. Let's get one more. Down she goes. The whole stalk came with it. Both are very big, bigger than my hand, and I'm going to show you the comparison to the one that was lacking the nitrogen. Wow, these are amazing. Just a side note, these are best eaten fairly quickly after harvesting, otherwise they start to get starchy as they sit. So they're sweeter if you eat them right away. Okay, so here we go. These are the healthy corn that I just harvested. These are two that I got off of the nitrogen deficient plants, and look at the size comparison. These ones were planted 1 month before these, so you would think that these would be even bigger, but they're not, because I did not amend the soil for these ones, and they were crowded with some other plants. So this is what ended up happening. You can see the comparisons. So I'm now inside, and I'm going to show you the difference in the corn between these small deficient nitrogen deficient ones and these big healthy ones. So here we go. Let's check this corn. Wow. See, that did not work at all. It's incredibly small. This side doesn't even have any kernels. So that is a waste. Now let's check this one out. Okay, none of those worked. So as you can tell, I just shucked that corn and none of them worked. So I failed miserably on my corn harvest this year, and I'm going to be thinking about what I need to do differently next year because that did not work at all. I'm super disappointed. I thought for sure my second batch of corn was going to be great. Last year I grew corn and it worked out just fine, so I don't know what happened. I'm going to do some research and digging, and hopefully I can improve for next year and have a much better harvest. I'm thinking that, again, they didn't get the nutrients that they needed. Perhaps the bigger ones that I just harvested actually weren't quite ready. I need to look into all these things and figure out what to do. And this is kind of the thing about gardening. It doesn't always work. It doesn't always go perfectly. And that's just what it is. Sometimes your harvest is good and sometimes it's not. So in the case today, my corn harvest did not go well. So I'm going to take all my own tips for next year and I'm going to fertilize, make sure I have enough nitrogen in the soil. I'm going to add it in compost, and I'm going to start them all early in May when it's really hot to make sure they have time to grow. I think my second batch did a lot better with the nutrition of the soil, but it didn't have enough time because I didn't even start it until a month or probably even longer than that after the first sowing of seeds. So there we go. Not a great harvest today, but I've learned a lot about corn, and next year I think it's going to be way better. I hope that you learned something about how to grow corn and learn from my mistakes, and I hope this inspires you to try corn for yourself and maybe you can do a better job than I did. Have a great day and happy gardening!